Hello, welcome to the Tristan channel, and in this video I'll be explaining what a drag queen is and the history of drag, or at least as much as I can. I think this will be a long one, so grab a brew. Now, recently there has been outrage and controversy over drag people reading stories to children, and people saying drag queens are adult entertainers who shouldn't be around children. However, you'll see drag isn't just for adult entertainment, it is in panto as well, and originated in theatre. Pantomime dames is a type of drag. On a basic level, drag means a man who impersonates a woman, and before you say, "Isn't that sexist?" it's called satire. After all, you have drag kings, women who impersonate men. That's out. Anyway, let's just start from the top. Drags refer to an entertainment style wearing stylized clothing. Most commonly, it is men wearing women's clothing, cross-dressing, generally for the purpose of a performance. The origin of the term drag is uncertain. The first recorded use of drag in reference to actors dressed in women's clothing is from 1870. It may have been based on the term grand rag, which was historically used for a masquerade ball. Masquerade. Sorry. The term female impersonator was commonly used in the past in around 1972. Esther Newton described a female impersonator as a professional drag queen. She considered the term female impersonator to be the one that was then widely understood by heterosexual audience. Female impersonation can be traced back at least as far as ancient Greece. There was little to no gender equity then, and women held a lower social status. This meant male actors would play female roles during theatrical performances. This tradition continued for centuries, but began to be less prevalent as motion pictures became popular. During the era of the vaudeville, it was considered immodest for women to appear on stage. Due to that circumstance, some men famous as female impersonators, the most notable being Julian Elting. At the peak of his career, he was one of the most sought after and highest paid actors in the world. The concept of drag can be seen in the earliest forms of entertainment, including ancient Greek theatre. In ancient Western cultures, women often were not allowed to perform on stage or become actors. Therefore, male actors played the roles of women also. This demonstrates how female impersonation can be traced back to the earliest forms of entertainment and spectacle. Not only this, but men and boys were expected to dress as women or in drag for many religious ceremonies and rituals in ancient Greece. There is some controversy as to whether this is actually where drag emerged, or if it occurred later in history in the 1800s with forms of entertainment, such as minstrel shows and Shakespeare's plays, as he often incorporated male actors as female impersonators. In the late 1800s to the mid-1900s, pantomime dames became a popular form of female impersonation in Europe. This was the first era of female impersonation in Europe to use comedy as a part of the performance, contrasting with the serious Shakespearean tragedies and Italian operas. The dame became a stock character with a range of attitudes from charwoman to grand dame that mainly was used for improvisation. The most famous and successful pantomime dame was Dan Lee. After World War I and World War II, the theatre and movie scenes were changing and the use of pantomime dames declined. Pantomime, complete with dames, remains a popular form of theatre traditionally performed at Christmas and afterwards to family audiences. Which is interesting, as people think that drag is only for adult entertainment, not an art open to a whole range. Notice pantomime being mentioned a lot. People protest they're different. No, sorry, facts say otherwise. Beyond theatres in the 1800s, molly houses became a place for gay men to meet, often dressed in drag. Despite gayness being outlawed, men would dress in women's clothing and attend these taverns and coffee houses to congregate and meet with other queer people. Drag in the south of South Africa emerged in 1950s in major cities such as Johannesburg and Cape Town. It started in the form of underground pageants, which created a safe space for members of the LGBTQ+ community in apartheid South Africa, where people could be punished by law for being gay. Kind of makes sense. Disguise yourself, you know what I mean? Anyway, being gay was not legalised in South Africa until 1998. Blimey. So pageants such as the famous Miss Gay Western Cape did not become official until the late 1990s. Discrimination against drag is widespread in South Africa, and drag queens face the threat of violence by being openly gay. Furthermore, there is no language to explore queerness in Xhosa, sorry if I butchered that, one of the indigenous languages of South Africa. After homosexual acts were decriminalised in Thailand in 1956, gay clubs and other queer spaces began opening, which led to the first cabaret. However, drag in Thailand was actually heavily influenced by drag queens from the Philippines, as the first show started after the owner of a gay club saw drag queens from the Philippines perform in Bangkok. That's another interesting word to be thrown in there. Cabaret. Anyway, therefore, drag shows started in Thailand in the mid-1970s and have become increasingly popular over time, especially in major cities like Bangkok. Before being colonialised by Spain in the mid-1500s, it was a national custom for men to dress in women's clothing. However, when the Spaniards arrived, they not only outlawed homosexuality, but executed men that appeared to be homosexual. Spain cast a culture of machismo onto the Philippines, causing any kind of queerness and queer culture to be heavily suppressed. Nonetheless, in the early 1900s, drag started to reappear in the media. Drag became a key element of national pantomime theatre, and as time went on, drag queens appeared in other forms of theatre and in movies. Again, with this theatre stuff. In 1940s, John Herbert, who sometimes competed in drag pageants, was the victim of an attempted robbery while he was dressed as a woman. His assailants falsely claimed that Herbert had solicited them for sex, and Herbert was accused and convicted of indecency under Canada's same-sex sexual activity law, which was not repealed until 1969. It's funny, isn't it? Drag people get blamed for everything. After being convicted, getting blamed for being predators. After being convicted, Herbert served time in a youth reformatory in Ontario. Another sentence for indecency at Reformatory in Mimico. Sorry, those words are like, fuck that. Anyway, Herbert wrote Fortune and Men's Eyes in 1964 based on his time behind bars. He included the character of Queenie as an authorial self-insertion. In 1973, the first Canadian play about and starring a drag queen, Hosanna, by Michael Tremblay, was performed at Theatre des Quat'Sous in Montreal. Sorry if I butchered the French there. In 1977, the Canadian film Outrageous, starring drag queen Craig Russell, became one of the first gay-themed films to break out into mainstream theatrical release. Notice a reoccurring theme here. So far, drag, and still does, is connected and originates from theatre. And cabaret by the sound of it. No. I wish I know it's theatre, don't worry. In India, September 2018, the Supreme Court ruled that application of Section 377 of the Indian Penal Code to consensual homosexual sex between adults was unconditional, irrational, indefensible, and manifestly arbitrary. Since then, drag culture in India has been growing and becoming the mainstream art culture. The hotel chain of Lalit Groups spaced a franchise of clubs where drag performers are hosted in major cities of India, such as Mumbai, Delhi, and Bangalore. Sorry. Maya, the drag queen, Rani Kushino, Lush, Monsoon, Better Than Stop, Tropical Marker, Zishan Ali, and Paruni Satri are some examples of Indian drag artists. I hope I'm pronouncing this right, sorry. In 2018, Hyderabad had its first drag convention. In 2020, India's first drag-specific magazine, Drag Vatani, began publication. In the United States, the first person known to describe himself as the Queen of Drag was William Dorsey Swan, born and enslaved in Hancock, Maryland, who in the 1880s started hosting drag balls in Washington, D.C., attended by other men who were formerly enslaved. The balls were often raided by the police, as documented in the newspapers. In 1896, Swan was convicted and sentenced to 10 months in jail on the false charge of keeping a disorderly house. A euphemism for running a brothel. Good morning. He requested a pardon from President Grover Cleveland, but was denied. The evolution of drag in the United States was influenced by minstrel shows. These shows were an example of how blackface was used in a racist form of entertainment, where the performers would mock African American men. But as time went on, they found it amusing to mock African American women as well. They performed in comedic skits, dances, and wench songs. Black people themselves were excluded from being performers, as at this point in history, as they were still enslaved in the United States. Blackface in minstrel shows emerged in 1820, but became more established with the creation of the character of Jim Crow, which was first performed in 1828. After the Civil War, performance tropes began to be composed of black performers. The shows maintained popularity in American entertainment into the 1920s. It's funny because I remember people I saw something on TV where people were defending the minstrel, saying it's just entertainment. Why are people offended? Because I remember some show, and yet people find drag unacceptable. Oddly enough, the same reasons one could say why drag was wrong. It's odd, isn't it? The broad comedic styles of the minstrel shows helped develop the vaudeville shows of the late 1800s to the early 1900s. In addition to the wench players, minstrel shows developed the role of prima donna, who appeared more elegant and refined while still retaining their comedic elements. Of course, getting hot in this room. While the wenches were purely American creations, the prima donna, were inspired by both American and European cross-dressing shows, like Shakespearean actors and castrati. Sorry, behave yourself. Free with the United States shifting democratics, including the shift from farms to cities, great migration of African Americans, and an influx of immigrants, vaudeville's broad comedy and music expanded the audience from minstrelsy. With vaudeville becoming more popular, it allowed female impersonators to become popular as well. Many female impersonators started with low comedy in vaudeville and worked their way up to perform as the prima donna. Stop it. They were known to perform song and dance routines with multiple outfit changes. In New York, city famous female impersonator Julian Elton, did I mention him earlier? Found success and eventually made his way to Broadway stage performing as a woman. Jazz hands. Shut up. Behave yourself. He published a magazine and Beauty Hints 1913, which provided beauty and fashion tips, and he posed for corset and cosmetic advertisement. Ironic, isn't it? Meanwhile, in San Francisco, Bothwell Brown was the top female impersonator of the West Coast. My voice gone funny. He performed at the Grand Opera House and Central Theatre and other avenues. Went on tour with the United Vaudeville, and later appeared in the film Yankee Doodle in Berlin in 1919, produced by Mack Sennett. Return of Mack. Shush. At this time, being a female impersonator was seen as something for the straight white male, and any deviation was punished. Were they getting their rocks off in secret? Anyway. Connection with sex work and homosexuality eventually led to the decline of vaudeville during the Progressive era. Both the minstrelsy and vaudeville eras of female impersonation led to an association with music, dance, and comedy that still lasts today. In the early to mid-1900s, female impersonation had become tied to the LGBTQ, LGBT back then, community, and thus criminality, so had it to change forms and locations. It moved from being popular mainstream entertainment to something done only at night in disreputable areas, such as San Francisco's Tenderloin. Here, female impersonation started to evolve into what we know today as drag queens. Categories: drag queens such as Jose Saya and Alicia Brevard first came to prominence in these clubs. People went to these nightclubs to play with the boundaries of gender and sexuality, and it became a place for the LGBT plus community, especially gay men, to feel accepted. A drag show is a piece of entertainment consisting of a variety of songs, monologues, or skits featuring either single performers or groups of performers in drag, meant to entertain an audience. They range from amateur performances at small bars to elaborate stage theatrical presentations. It's an art form. Odd that people say it's not. Many drag shows feature performers singing or lip-syncing for your life to songs while performing a pre-planned pantomime or dancing. The performers often don elaborate costumes and makeup, and sometimes dress to imitate various famous female singers. or personalities. Be all right. Some events are centered around drag, such as Southern Decadence, where the majority of festivals are led by the Grand Marshals, who are traditionally drag queens. In 2020, the first West End play to feature an all-drag cast, Death Drop, launched at the Garrick Theatre in London. Produced by Tuck Shop and Trafalgar Entertainment, it was written by a drag performer Holly Stars and starred Courtney Act, Monet Exchange, Therese Royale, William Holly Stars, Anna Flylactic, Lewis, Kamar Bob, Mira Boyce, and Vinegar Strokes, and was directed by Jesse Jones. Oh, sorry, that's too much of a tongue twister. I was like, blah, 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 blah. The show ran for a number of weeks in November and December 2020 before being closed due to a COVID lockdown in London. The show reopened on 19th of May 2021 and ran until its scheduled end date of 11th of July 2021. Death Drop received 5-star reviews. I haven't looked at one yet, from many publications, including Gay Times and Attitude Magazine, and was widely celebrated for breaking new ground in theatrical drag performance. I wonder if I can get it on YouTube. Anyway. In Drag Queen, Don McLean drag name Laurie Shannon appeared in 3 episodes of the CBS sitcom All in the Family as drag queen Beverly Sally, Archie the Hero 1975, in which Archie Bunker gives her mouth-to-mouth resuscitation, not only realizing she is male. Beverly Rides Again 1976, in which Archie uses her to play a practical joke on a friend, and Edith Crisis of Faith Part 1 1977, in which her murder leads to Edith Bunker to question her faith in God. Told you it's going to be a long one. That's what she said. The role was noteworthy for its uncommonly respectful and sympathetic treatment of Beverly as a transvestite. British entertainer Paul O'Grady, God rest, look, many recipes, was a staple of light entertainment and a variety shows on UK television from the early 80s to the mid-90s, playing the drag persona Lily Savage. Alright, Chuck, an over-the-top glamorous diva character for comedic effects. It's also interesting to note that no one had a problem or had any issues with Lily Savage or even Dame Edna being around children and entertaining them, and they're both drag artists. Kodoko was a Canadian sketch comedy series which aired on CB's television from 1988 to 1993. 2 of its actors, Tommy Sexton and Greg Malone, were especially renowned for drag-based impersonations of celebrity women, such as Queen Elizabeth, Barbara Frum, Barbara Walters, Tammy Faye Baker, and Margaret Thatcher. In one famous sketch, Malone as Froome moderated a debate between Andy Jones as a gay teacher who had been fired from his job for testing HIV positive, and Sexton as Clarabelle Otterhead, the president of an anti-gay lobby group called Citizens Outraged by Weird Sex or Cows. They have some really fucked up names, don't they? It's sort of anti... That word... What would you do? Airing since early 2008 has had episodes featuring drag queens. In mid-2008, RuPaul began producing RuPaul's Drag Race. Yes. A reality TV television game show which began airing in February 2009. The premise of the program category has several drag queens compete to be selected by RuPaul and the panel judges as America's Next Drag Superstar. Sorry. Good show. It inspired the similar spin-off shows RuPaul's Drag U and RuPaul's Drag Race All-Stars, as well as the international franchise editions, Drag Race Thailand, The Switch, Drag Race Chile, RuPaul's Drag Race UK, Canada's Drag Race Holland, Drag Race España, and RuPaul's Drag Race Down Under. Cool. I'm glad when I wrote the script there wasn't a long... In 2018, American Idol featured a drag queen, Adam Sanders, drag name Ada Vox, as one of its contestants. He made it to the top 10. You go, girl. And 2018, Celebrity Big Brother featured Queen Shane Jenek, drag name Courtney Act, sorry if I mispronounced the name, mate, as one of its contestants, placing first in the season with 49.43% of the public vote. Also in 2018, So You Think You Can Dance featured Jay Jackson, drag name Linguagina Estraja, as one of its contestants. Sorry if I got that wrong. The drag challenger Netflix show Dancing Queen, also released in 2018, starred Justin Johnson, drag name Edwards, and his dance studio Beyond Belief Dance Company. A 2018 episode of The Simpsons titled Working Mum featured many drag queens, including cameos from RuPaul, sweet, and Raja, the season 3 winner of RuPaul's Drag Race. Dragnificent is a television series on the American network TLC. The show started as a special branded Drag Me Down the Aisle, which aired on 9th of March 2019. It features Alexis Michelle, Bibi Zahara Bidet, Juju B, and 4G4, 4 drag queens who are all RuPaul's Drag Race alumni, helping an engaged woman to plan her upcoming wedding. Whew. On 15th of January 2020, TLC announced that it had given a full season run to Dragnificent, a new show to be based on the Drag Me Down the Aisle special. Oh, God bless coffee. The series premiered on the 19th of April 2020. The Netflix show, it's a brilliant show, AJ and the Queen, released in 2020, followed Ruby Red, a bigger-than-life but down-on-her-luck drag queen played by Mamaru herself, RuPaul, who travels across America from club to club in a rundown 1990s RV with her unlucky sidekick AJ, a recently orphaned, tough-talking, scrappy 10-year-old stowaway. As the two misfits travel from city to city, Ruby's message of love and acceptance winds up touching people and changing their lives for the better. In 2020, RuPaul became the first drag queen to host Saturday Night Live, though he was not in drag at the time. In 2020 to 2021, British drag queen Holly Stars wrote and performed in 2 seasons of a mockumentary series, Holly Stars Inspirational, broadcast on Out TV, Fraught TV, and Amazon Prime. In education, while drag queens are entertainers, they play a role in educating people on gender roles and stereotyping. Get this. It came on sometime. In 2005, sorry, be yourself. Stephen of Plattsburgh State University of New York, began as introducing his and his students' experiences of attending a drag show to his gender/sexualities class to challenge his students' ideas of dichotomy. Over time, he began inviting students to attend with him. He gathered from his students that after attending the drag show, they had a new appreciation for gender and sexuality and often become very vocal about their new experiences in the classroom. That's interesting. 2005. Odd. No one complained then, innit? Interesting, that, isn't it? 2005. 8 years. Whoop. No, behave yourself. Nina West, Drag Race Season 11 contestant and winner of Miss Congeniality, and producer of Drag is Magic and EP of children's music about the art form, says she hopes to inspire them to dream big, be kind, and be their perfect selves. not change gender or anything like that. Idiot. Anyway, West feels the art form is an opportunity for children to get creative and think outside the boxes us silly adults crafted for them. Marty Gould Cummings said something similar when a video of them performing Baby Shark at a drag brunch event went viral. Anyone who thinks drag isn't for children is wrong, said Cummings. Sorry, I know you did post on that, but drag is an expression, and children are such judgment-free beings. They don't really care what you're wearing, just what you're performing. And I'm sorry if you don't sound like I just thought to change your voice. Make it interesting. As of May 2019, the video has been viewed over 806,000 times. West responded to critics who questioned if children are too young to experience drag, saying, "Drag is an opportunity for anyone, including and especially children, to reconsider the masks we are all forced to wear daily." Hence, why can't a boy buy Frozen magazine? Anyway, West added, children are inundated with implicit imagery from media about what is boy and what is girl, and I believe that almost all kids are really less concerned about playing with toys that supposedly align to their gender and more concerned with playing with toys that speak to them. Some boys like to play with Barbies, some like to play with Action Man. And vice versa, girls like that. Anyway, John Cassie, behave yourself. John Cassie, an adjunct professor at Wagner College in New York City, posits in The Advocate, drag queens are incredibly talented and they are trying to live their lives and, in the process, brighten the lives of those around them. And that's the message parents should be communicating to their kids at any age. It's all about acceptance and being loved for who you are. Oh, such a nice message. Stop it. Yeah, it's a nice message. That's brilliant. It's wonderful. Love it. Agree with it. Anyway, separately from kids, watching drag, the phenomenon of the drag kids is relatively recent. In the New York Times notes that as of September 2019, there are over 100 public drag children in the US, with Desmond is Amazing, who incidentally is little gay child, as the one with the most followers. The mainstream access to drag queens on television exponentially increased in 2009 when RuPaul's Drag Race started airing. Surely that's down to parents who are in charge of what kids watch on TV. After all, one could argue that TV could influence kids and adults as well as the drag story time. So getting upset over drag story time is stupid, because if it posed that much of a problem, then surely they would take it off TV or stop the kids from watching it. Just an idea to throw out there. Anyway, however, as of 2022, exposing kids to drag has become somewhat controversial. Lawmakers in states such as Arizona, Florida, and Texas are attempting to ban minors from attending drag shows and punish parents who expose their kids to drag. These attempts to ban minors from watching drag are based on allegations of drag being a form of perversion and hypersexualization, which, as we see, is bollocks. Those who disagree have argued that drag queens provide a safe, creative environment for young children, especially LGBTQ+ children, and are a source of both education and entertainment. Right, so going back a bit, in December 2015, Radar Productions and MyShow developed the concept of Drag Queen Story Hour. Launched at San Francisco Public Library, Drag Queen Story Hour was adopted by the Brooklyn Public. See that again, 2015. In the summer of 2016, has since travelled to various libraries, museums, bookstores, creation centres, and parks across the United States, Canada, and the United Kingdom. It's not actually, so it's not being forced into schools. It's just an event you can attend of your own consent. Such events sometimes prompt opposition against the libraries and organisers. In one instance, in California, men belonging to the far right, or what's new, group, known as the Proud Boys, arrived in a group and disrupted the event by shouting homophobic and transphobic phrases at the crowd. It's always the far right, isn't it? You can't fuck off and leave people alone, excuse me French. The county sheriff's office opened a hate crime investigation into the incident. Oh, that's a first. Due to the nature of the disruption. So as you can see, it's not purely for nor restricted to just adult entertainment. It's in theatre, etc. You know, like example, pantomime, and traditionally for family entertainment. It originated in theatre, so you can't say it isn't connected to theatre or pantomime. So maybe we should bear this all in mind when questioning: is it safe for all this information? Is it safe for drag queens to dress as fairy godmothers and read stories to children? These projects were done with these events and these projects and events were done with the consent of the parents, and as you can see, have been happening for 8 years, with only minor complaints by religious groups. Well, what's new there? Behave yourself. The backlash comes mostly from conservative Christian groups of America and even Australia. What's the surprise? Behave. Also, we may believe that, yes, drag is famous for being in nightclubs, etc., and that drag is seen as sexual. Well, maybe we should stop sexualizing drag queens and accept it for what it is for, an art form. After all, the nightclub part of it is indeed for adult fun. But drag isn't just restricted to the nightclub and the nightlife, but to theatre and also television. So in this discussion, you have to accept the possibility that there's no harm in drag story time, nor is it harmful to be friends or be around a drag queen. I mean, what's the worst that's going to happen? You won't be turned gay, nor trans. Maybe covered in glitter, perhaps, but hey, who doesn't love glitter? The finger pointing and the views expressed in this discussion is disgusting, because not everyone is a sex offender or predator. And it's odd that we trust children with priests more than we do with drag queens, and yet more children are abused by men of the cloth. Oh, I'm going to get in trouble for that one, but it's true. And don't make it a trans argument or a trans confusing kids argument, because drag is an art. Drag is not an identity as such, in that respect, gender identity. And yes, though, drag people or drag queens have self-discovered their transness, but putting kids with drag queens won't turn your kids trans. Also, if a drag queen at one of these gatherings is a convicted sex offender, then that's the school or library's fault for not doing a background check, because surely you would have that done. However, that doesn't give you a license to demonise drag queens. Also, stop treating kids like they are stupid. Unlike adults, they are a lot more compassionate and understanding, and they don't want bigotry. So no kid has come out from this changing or confused. They've only had nothing but fun. But on a grand scale, I'm not saying drag story time was right or wrong. I'm just saying we need to look at all the facts and not through an ignorant or bigoted filter created by mainstream media. And like I said, I find it interesting that no one had any issues with Lily Savage and Dame Edna being around or entertaining children who are drag. And I love Paul Gray, didn't you? He's awesome. Bless him. Hey, there's so much ground to cover, but so little time. Anyway, I hope you found this video informative and educational. If you liked it, hit the like, and if you haven't, then please subscribe. It'll be great to have you here. And until next time, take care and be well. See you next one.